If you're a leader, definitely if you're an entrepreneur, you want to be good at delegating. You know it's important, but you're still having a hard time actually doing it. Maybe you've tried to delegate, but haven't been as successful as you like. You're just not creating more space for yourself or really buying back time that would benefit you in your day. The question is, why not? You know you want to, you know you need to, but something is getting in the way. That is what this video is all about. I'm going to help you identify the 3 mental roadblocks that are keeping you from delegating. I'm going to share 3 pitfalls that you may have fallen into when you've tried to delegate. And finally, once you know what those mental blocks are that you need to remove, which pitfalls to avoid, I'll tell you exactly how you should delegate so you can scale without stressing yourself out. Why don't you delegate? 3 mental roadblocks. You don't trust people, at least not enough to do it right. Second reason is that you think that somehow if you ask for what you want clearly and confidently, you may be perceived as being bossy or a bitch. This is especially true if you are a woman in leadership. The third mental barrier is often that you're just not organized enough in your own workflow to break it apart and to share pieces of it with others. Now, let's say you've tackled those mental roadblocks and you're actually trying to delegate, but you're still running into trouble getting the support that you're looking for. Basically, you just haven't found anyone willing to do the work that you're trying to offload. Well, there's a few different reasons for that, and that's where those pitfalls come in. Often, when we try to delegate, if we don't know how to do it right, we fall into some of these traps. The first thing is asking people for help who aren't actually motivated by the carrot that you're offering them. So the first thing you want to do is ask yourself and get really clear on whether you're looking for someone to hire or if you're looking for friends to volunteer. The sooner you clarify this, the sooner you can craft clear expectations for yourself and others, and it will really help to prevent disappointment. Also, as a note, everyone has a valid and necessary self-interest to meet. This is not a bad thing. Consider what you need done and how valuable it is for you to get it off your plate. And then recognize, are you willing to exchange that same level of value for what you need? The second pitfall is that sometimes the people you're asking for help are either overwhelmed or confused by the system and tools that you're asking them to use in order to get the work done. Now, this can come from one of 2 reasons. Either you don't have a system. Basically, your stuff is everywhere and it's unorganized. A lot of people fall in this boat. Or you could be on the other side of the spectrum where you have an overly complex system. Either way, you're looking for someone who needs a certain combination of skills in order to navigate your non-system or your complex system to get things done. Now, personally, I've been on both sides, okay? I've been in both scenarios when asking for help. I've been in a place where I did not have a system and I was trying to ask for help, and also in a place where I had a very complex system and it was hard for people to learn. But the goal is to know where you are so that you know what you need to strike that balance. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that in just a bit. But first, let me tell you that third critical pitfall that so many people run into when trying to delegate. And this one you may not have heard before. Lack of patience, compassion, and curiosity. What? Listen, in my video, How to Navigate Change, I talk about the stages of movement and the fact that we always find ourselves in one of those stages at all times. You should check it out. But the very core of delegation at its nature is change. I mean, think about it. You are transitioning between taking something that you own and then giving part of it away to someone else. So no matter how fast or slow it happens, it requires a certain level of patience with the process. We also need to be mindful that we should show ourselves compassion and others who are learning. We need to have a significant amount of curiosity so that when you learn and adapt as a situation changes, otherwise you'll get stuck. If you think about it, you can't be both judgmental and curious at the same time. right? Curiosity allows you to ask better questions of yourselves and others with the intent to find the answer as opposed to assigning blame and then nothing gets done. If you find yourself lacking any of those three things, patience, compassion, or curiosity, delegation is going to be a challenge for you. So now you know the three mental barriers and the three pitfalls that keep even the best of leaders from delegating and actually getting the help that they need to scale and grow. Now that you know that and you can keep that in your awareness, you can approach delegation with these three powerful steps: identify, define, and engage. Now, for those of you who follow me, you may already know this is the manifest model. That's right, my secret sauce for being able to transfer the power of project management into any everyday situation so that we can create predictable results. So, what does the manifest model look like in the context of delegation? Well, let me break it down. Step one, identify. Okay, so what does that mean? You really need to define and accept your identity as a boss. You are a boss, and a boss doesn't have a problem being bossy. You understand me? Document your workflow. Unsecret your own sauce so that you can actually communicate how you got to the results that you're looking for, or so that you can identify the gaps that you need to fill. Either way, you really need to take that first step to identify. Number two, decide. In this context, we're talking about scope, budget, and time. That's the iron triangle. I teach more about that, but it's basically the three essential elements that every project has to have. So you don't want to skip over this, all right? So deciding your scope really means determining what does support look like for you? What skill sets do you need? Either to remove the things off of your plate or to fill those gaps. You want to also decide your budget for outsourcing. Now, this is something that most people will skip, either because they don't think to do it or they don't know how to do it. Essentially, the instinct that most people have is to get as much as they can for free because we love free. But this was one of my biggest personal lessons on my route to delegation as an entrepreneur. So pay attention to this one. Consider the trade-off that you're willing to accept and feel good about when it comes to fulfilling your scope, right? So you know your scope, you know what you need to get done. It translates into a cost, okay? Now, you can get a free resource, like a person or an AI tool, for example, but that may cost you time in terms of training or the expectations of what that person can actually do. Another budgetary consideration is that you could get a more skilled or expert level resource for a higher investment. Obviously, that costs more money, but you can't have it both ways. You will not get an expert for free, and if you're planning to train, you need to be ready to give that time and that energy to do it effectively. Both are valuable, and both need to be calculated into your budget. Remember, money is a renewable resource. You can always find ways to make more. So don't sell yourself short on what you think you can afford. I promise you. I talk more about money mindset in some of my other videos. Finally, when it comes to the decide step of the manifest model, you want to decide how much time you have and how flexible that is. Be careful not to devalue your own time so much that you think you can afford to do everything yourself forever. You can't. That's why we're talking about delegation, remember? You don't even want to pay pennies for poor work quality because I promise you, fixing wasteful mistakes costs more than you think. Your time is the most valuable asset in your business. So consider the trade-off when you're looking at your budget and the things that you think are free versus the things that require investment. The last step of the manifest model is engage. You need to engage with patience, compassion, and curiosity. Remember, I mentioned this as a really big pitfall that you need to avoid. So I'm going to give you some advice on how to engage with those things so that you can avoid it. Don't tell yourself that you can't delegate or that you're not delegating just because the transition may be taking a little bit longer than you thought it would. As long as you keep showing up, you keep trying, you have no choice but to make progress. Now, if it is going longer than you'd like, then tap into your compassion and your curiosity strengths. Let me tell you how this will work for you. As one who has learned to live and treat anxiety, like most high capacity women often do, I make an intentional effort to be kind to myself when I'm journeying through something new. Again, entrepreneurs, high capacity women, we're always doing some new shit. Always. Because that's what we do. The key is to navigate external obstacles without holding yourself up internally. So engage compassion, be kind to yourself and to the people who you're working with. Engage curiosity, right? If something's not going right, that's an opportunity for a lesson. You need to be documenting that and understanding why it's not working so that you can take that lesson and apply it. I talk more about that in my How to Create Good SOPs. So ultimately, if you do this, if you apply the manifest model to your delegation practice, you can do it. You can go from being a solo act to a multi-person team. And before you know it, you'll look back and be thanking your past self. So I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, like and comment, and I look forward to hearing from you.